Hi. Hello.
Hi everyone. We're Saba and Timothée. We're both architects based in Paris, and we're also husband and wife. And Saba is from Iran, and I'm from France. So we're going to share screen as well. We're going to present our project for HerMaP, and it's also about the cement factory in Ray. Our project is called now Stories of Displacement. It's a project we started with the idea of working on the sense of place with the Ray Cement Factory. We called it Stories on Displacement because the outcome is basically became very narrative. And displacements, it's not only displacement like physical displacement, but also displacement of meaning. And we try to use displacement as a way of abstraction to displace meaning of things, meanings of objects and places. So the very first intent of the project before we actually realized we couldn't go there was actually involving our physical presence on site very much, involving people with us talking about the place and sort of displacing the historical meaning and the functional meaning of the place to get the very substance, the very essence of the place. The only thing we had left, as we couldn't be physically involved with the place because of Corona, we couldn't displace actually ourselves, was testimonies of other people on site.
Yeah, so we thought like how we can get the most information we want from this site. Is it photos, is it videos, is it 3D plans? But we thought like asking some people to go there and then tell us their story, their experience of the place. That will give us the essence of the place and what we are really looking for.
So we had only a map basically to start with. We didn't have photos. We had the map of the factory. Later on, we had like many material coming from the stakeholders in Iran. But we kept working with the map. We only had the map to work with, to start with, and we didn't want to focus on pictures. So we took the map, and the map helps us draw a coordinate on the site, and this coordinate would help us kind of have a overall survey, an extensive survey by our partners on site, and we would ask everyone to go on one spot and describe the place for us. So spend some time on this spot and later on describe their experience, which would later help us to sort of recompose the place and the map in our own way, distantly.
Yeah, so we had this like the narratives and the stories that people who went on site told us, and we stopped looking at the photos, we stopped at looking at any other materials, and we just kept these voices and these stories. And also what was very important, it was like these voices were very personal, very related to each person who has visited the site, and also very cultural. And we could see Iranian culture in it, spending like giving lots of attention to every detail. And also what we found common in all these stories is that the objects left on the site took a lot of attention and helped everybody to imagine a life that could be there with those objects that has been left in that ruin. They could tell us the life, they could imagine the life that was happening there before this cement factory become a ruin.
So these objects you can see now are not objects taken from the factory. They're actually objects from a house in France. We were like kind of put in quarantine ourselves, and this was the time when we received all those testimonies, and we really focused in listening the testimonies and tried to recompose the stories of the place in our mind. and gradually objects surrounding us, which were very domestic, became part of these stories we would later use to recompose the place and the map of the cement factory. So we started wandering around, and we spent a lot of time wandering around, listening to stories, and things started to kind of mix in our mind, and we can kind of helped us project ourselves somewhere else with imagination. And we used abstraction literally to physically abstract objects from their domestic context, to use them as primary material to tell the story. And this process, a necessary step was obviously to abstract them physically, but also pictorially from their context. So we made portraits of every 100 objects we took, and these became kind of pieces of the puzzles we recomposed later.
And we looked at this kind of a very traditional storytelling way in Iran, is a heritage of storytelling. A storyteller would tell 100 pages of a story, pointing at the big frame with lots of drawings in it. The big frame is telling like loads of stories. There are many objects, people, animal in it, with different scale, with different proportion. No perspective does matter. So it's a big composition. Helps the storyteller to point to one object or one animal or one person in that big frame. And so it will help the people listening to him to imagine the story. So we took that as a reference, and we started putting those objects together to create these big compositions that would help us to tell this story. So in the house, each room became one part of this factory. We started putting together these objects and create a point of that factory together, and creating these big frames to retell these stories with. And so we lived with these objects in this house, that they were in one point in each room, and we lived with them for 2 or 3 days, knowing what exactly each object was meant to say. So we were physically in the house, but our imagination was totally in the cement factory. So these are the compositions that I'm just gonna show some of them. And then so our at the end we have this like a huge cloud of contents that we put together, is the voices, is the composition, is the objects that they came together to cover that map and recreate with the imagination the factory for us. So help us telling the story of the factory. So we just put that together. So the result of the work on the website is just that you can move from one point to another, hearing the voices, seeing the images, seeing how we took the objects from their place and we put them in another place and recreated these stories. Yeah, that's it.
So on
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You can't hear the voices, but we also have like voices in Persian and voices translations in English of every story, and it's kind of a journey through the site, our interpretation basically.
Yeah, I think we can. The positive point for us is that at the beginning we had planned to spend 1 month on site ourselves and look at the site from our point of view. But the good part was that there is 10 people who collaborated with us, who went on site, and it's very, very personal, their story from each point. We can see that different people with different mind, they are seeing different things in different point of view. And I think is very interesting to have that input. And actually I can I think if we were there, we would just see it from our point of view and not that 11 point of views. As I have been to this factory after we finished our work, I went to Iran and we went there with my father. And when I saw the building from outside, I was like, okay, we totally got it wrong. Because I was like, this is not what, this is not that plate or pigeon is a huge building. That's not what we did. But when I walked in, I knew the door, I knew the window, I knew the bin there, I knew that like I knew all the small points of it, which I think if it was us observing it, I would never give attention to that. So I think that was the positive point, that it was not just our point of view, but it was like 10 people and we just got it and we worked on it.
What was meant to be very scientific in the process of the project became much more human, maybe through the prism of other people, other narratives. And also many people involved in the project made the narrative much richer.